Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach the Bible in 100% truth. And Shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, starting with the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans in the land of North, Central, and South America, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations, who look like the other nations living amongst them but still receive this word, shalom to you. So today we're looking at this particular video here on screen, and this is going to be a real quick one. And this subject has been talked about a lot lately, the alphabet people, and the fact of the people of, is it Ghana? I think it's Ghana. Are rejecting, or Uganda are rejecting the alphabet movement and the transformer movement, the robots in disguise. So that's been spoken of, and I've just come across this particular video here. You might have seen this already. It's about 2 weeks old. You might have, or you might not have, but it was quite an interesting short video. It's about 12 minutes long, and I will leave the link in the description box, so you can go and watch it and come back, or I'll just break it down from here and you can go and watch it afterwards. So I'm not going to play it for fear of copyright and getting restrictions on the channel. So the alphabet people, the transhumanism thing, the alphabet people, the transformers, it's something that has been, we're seeing all around the world, that's been pushed on the agenda. People just in passing, just in general, without people knowing what I know or what I'm into the scriptures. People all the time say things to me. Like even last night at work, someone said to me, they were just like saying how they couldn't wrap their head around the way things are promoted on TV. For example, that's what the person said to me. Said, look, I'm looking at this advertisement for a hotel, and they'll show alphabet people in the hotel, in the room. What's wrong with just showing normal people? Why do you actually have to show me that particular people? Any people can go there and get it. But why do you always have to keep showing me these, alphabet people in the bed, in the hotel, on the advertisement? And, again, without going into the truth, I tried to explain to that person that, you've got this agenda. Okay, so the same way, for example, when I was growing up, nobody really recycled anything. We just had a bin, we threw stuff away, and that was that. And now fast forward, 20, 30 years later, we have a thing called recycling bins. So outside my house, I have a bin for recycling. I've got to separate, when I throw my rubbish away, I've got to have 2 flipping bins. Now, this is forced upon me. I've got no choice. They say, it's for a good reason, and it's very hard to argue against it. If I were to have a debate with all the people on my street, how could I win an argument to say that, I don't want to spend time throwing stuff into that recycle bin? But, this is an agenda that the powers that be have. You could call it the agenda of my local council, but ultimately it's the agenda of the government. The agenda of the government come under the agendas of the New World Order. And that's why we have a certain order around the world. People find it hard to understand that there is a world government that pretty much controls the agenda around the world and gives memos to these individual governments. When you say that to people, they say, "Oh, conspiracy this, conspiracy that, whatever." But so what else is it that's keeping the world in order? Because if there was no order, then people would just get fed up and just go invade their neighbours all the time, but they don't, because they join things like NATO, they join things like the EU, and they follow the order. Certain countries, for example, Russia, don't want to follow the order. And, when it comes down to it, what do? They're prepared to cause war. Another country that don't want to follow the order, Iran, And that is the next, the big thing that the small hats and Babylon the Great are looking at, which is going to be the escalation of World War III. So, they ultimately, the EU and the NATO, the NATO organization, they're trying to keep order. There is an order around the world. So if there's an order around the world, that means you have a group of people who make decisions, and those those conclusions to those decisions that they get fed out to different governments, and that's why we have order. And so back to the recycling bin, that is an agenda that has been pushed upon me. Yeah, I can't argue against it. I can't really find a good reason to not want to join it, to be involved in it, but I have to do it. It's been pushed, it's been put right on my doorstep, and the bin sitting right outside my door. The red bin is the powers that be telling me that I have to follow this particular order. And it's the same thing with the alphabet people. You talk to 90% of so-called normal people, and they can't understand it. Yet you have this small group of demons who, embrace it. Now, when you watch TV, for example, this is what I was explaining to the person last night. When you watch TV, it's I don't know the exact numbers, but for example, when you watch it, when you look at the reality and the people around the world, let's just say 90% are not alphabet and 10% are alphabet. But when you watch TV, it'll be the opposite. So 90% of the people you see will be alphabet and 10% won't. And so so when you're watching these things, you feel like it's just surrounding you. It's everywhere. It's there. Your mind is being bombarded with it. And one way to program things into you and get you to accept it is to bombard it. You don't like war scenes, but if you're bombarded with them all the time, eventually it becomes nothing. So you'll go to a war zone and say, yeah, whatever. I work in an emergency department, so I see people's legs hanging off, facing the wrong way all the time, doing this, collapsing, whatever. It's the same shit, different day. And so what it is, that's how they push this agenda of this alphabet people. They bombard it, and what it is, it gets stuck into your mind, and then so what is you, and then where everybody feel, you're getting this message from the TV, and a lot of people don't agree with it, but they go out into the world and they accept it because of the message the TV is giving them. But if you actually listen to each other and realize that a lot of you don't actually like it, and you could stand up against it, but they don't, because they incorporate it into human rights and so on and so forth, and then they try to incorporate it into race. If you're willing to accept people of different nations, then you should be able to accept an alphabet person or a transformer, a robot in disguise. So this is something that comes from America. They push these agendas around the world, and a lot of the nations accept it, take it on board, and they roll with it. Now, there's been big talk in the news lately about Uganda. This is obviously not going to be new to you, but there's big talk in the news about Uganda, rejecting that. Kamala Harris going over there on behalf of America, on behalf of that worldwide agenda, to tell them that, you've got to try and accept it. And they're like, no, we're not having it, whatever. Just, there's the door and goodbye. So, when you look at this particular video clip here, this is, going into line with that understanding. And what this particular person does, he gives a speech in Ugandan parliament, whatever that's called, and he breaks it down to a T. I couldn't tell you everything he says. I'd have to have written it all down, and I advise you to watch it. The way he breaks it down, he goes into the fact of, they have traditions and a natural order within Uganda. He then goes on to talk about they have a particular language, and then he then talks about the fact that within that language, they don't have words to describe these alphabet and these transformer people. So naturally, it's not something that's natural to their society. He breaks it down nicely into a T. And what he also does is really, really interesting. Is he he mentions, a heavenly power, and he mentions the Hebrew Israelites, and he says that, he he talks about his. See, this is what you look. These people that don't understand this truth, this is what they're going to realize. When Yahushua comes back, everything's going to be put into order, and people are going to realize who they were. Now, this person on the screen here, it sounds like he already knows what's going on, because he talks about his own people's belief in the Most High and particular deities, and then he goes on to talk about the Hebrew Israelites. And now he says their God, Yahweh, which he got wrong. The name is Yahweh. We are the Hebrew Israelites. This person here is probably a Hamite. And so, being in Africa, it could be in Israel, I don't know. So he's talking from a Hamite and African point of view. And he's going, those people over there, the Hebrew Israelites, with their God called Yahweh. Well, I'm here to tell you, no, it's Yahweh. And, I'm not going to break it down, but you will find out when Yahushua comes that it's 100% true. And I'm not going to break it down at the minute as to what it is. I mean, he exists. Yahweh, he exists. That's pretty much what he told Moses. So he goes on to mention, these things and natural order of certain things. He then goes on to talk about how, sex is a natural biological function. And obviously you have the X chromosome and the Y chromosome. He then talks about gender being a social construct. It's a slightly different thing, which is the same thing that, when it comes to the terms black and white. People call themselves black and white, and that's just a social construct designed. And then, you automatically put yourself into one of those categories. And then what that does is it determines a whole outcome for you, the way people treat you and a certain path that you're going to take in society, by calling yourself white, even if you're not actually white, maybe you're pink or red, but you're going to call yourself white, and then that would ultimately give the feeling of brightness from this particular person, and that brightness involves light. If you were to call yourself black, ultimately you're calling yourself devoid of light, and that's what these Edomites, these so-called white people, have done. They've made a construct called black and white, and then they have a whole bunch of people that are brown, but claim to be black, have made up a thing called black culture, full of all types of nonsense, hoeing out their own women and pretty much taking a hell of a lot of drugs and shooting each other, and flaunting their money, even though their money is very little. You may have certain amount of peas in the bank, but whatever you got is peanuts, compared to what some of these Edomites and these elites have. But yet, you give an Israelite a bunch of cash, and what does he do? He makes a hip hop video and he's throwing paper up in the air, talking about rain. And this is how low level, this whole that culture is. But what it is, it's black culture. So that's devoid. It's a culture devoid of light. That's the type of thing you do when you're devoid of light. You do low level stuff. So, black and white is a construct that was pushed. People accepted it. You now can't get away from it. You go and try and explain the information I just explained to people, and they can't hear it. They don't want to hear it. And this is how brainwashed they are. And the same thing's happening. You're in the process of this whole thing being brainwashed into society. So, most people I talk to, they'll look at it and they'll pull a funny face and say, "What's this all about?" But yet everyone keeps quiet and allows it to operate within society. Why? Because when they go home, the TV keeps telling them to do that. I work in a hospital. These people, they come in with their alternate identity. They've transformed. They become a robot in disguise, and then they come to the desk and they say, "Oh, I want to book in. This is my name, John Smith." And so the computer system I have at work, I basically only need 2 pieces of information from you to find all your details. So I need your first name, your date of birth, or your last name, your date of birth. Maybe I need your postcode and your first name. I just need two pieces of information from that, and obviously whether you're male or female, and with that I can pretty much find everything you got. So if you come to the desk and you're talking shit, I'll know within a minute or two. And what it is, I can't tell you to your face that you're talking shit, so I'll say, nicely, you sure you don't have another name? And you'd be surprised at some of the stupid answers that people give you. Oh yeah, my name used to be this, or oh, my name's actually this, or whatever. And you see, with these people that are robots in disguise, these transformers, they they're adamant. They'll stand there for 10, 15 minutes. 15 fucking minutes to do a 30-second process. The whole process takes 30 seconds. Because you want to lie, we've got to stand there for 15 minutes. And then eventually I'm going to find you. And when I found you, it's because you told me, John told me, oh, my name's actually Julie. Oh, so John used to be Julie. And now I found you. And you stop lying. And what it is, see, the bottom line is you can turn up to all these places pretending to be who you want to be. But when we do some medical work on you, we need to know your history. We need to know what's inside that body. So we're going to dig it up. We're going to find it. And you're going to say, oh, I'm lying on the bed and my name's John, and I'm a transformer. And we're looking at the paperwork going, well, no, this is Julie, and she's got 2 ovaries inside her. So maybe that's the reason why she's, having this issue or that issue. So, the other one I came across one of them got me the other day. I'm scratching my head and I'm sitting there thinking, I still can't find this person. And then my colleague had to tell me now that it's MX is a new one. That MX, instead of Mr. or Mrs., they were MX. So, and that just threw me off because obviously I kept going with the man, with the female, with the male. Every time I'm searching her, who's him, who's actually a her. And then I'm like, tapping this in, tapping that, and I'm thinking, damn, I still can't get it. And that's when my colleague said to me, no, what it is, they come as MX. So they're not man or woman. So I had to remove that function, unknown. And then it fucking came up. So, you people are living a lie, because ultimately when you lay on that operating table, fuck what's going on inside your brain and your stupid thoughts. We need to know what's going on inside your body. And that's the body that your mum fucking pushed you out with on day one. So anyway, either way, like I say, they're pushing this shit. People don't really want to hear it, but they kind of accept it and go with it. So I'm going to leave the link for that video in the description box. And so this is Jeremiah chapter 51 and 7. It says here, Babylon, which is America, have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, in all capitals Yahweh. So America has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand. Now, this is, don't forget, when we read these scriptures, we're reading dark sayings of old, as well as parables. And so this is obviously a parable. America is not a physical cup, but it represents a cup. When you look at things from, you have to think on a higher level, and you've got to see the point of view of the Most High, as if you were the Most High, because he's describing it to you from his point of view, Yahweh. And so what it's saying is that the Lord Yahweh sees this as America as a golden cup. It says, and he's filled that cup. Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, as I've explained many times, will bring righteousness, behavior that's righteous as well as behavior that's wicked. And this is the power behind 2 ways of life, if you like. So all the wickedness that's on earth is pretty much put here by the Most High. That's something that no other religion in the world will teach you, because all these religions in the world are designed. They're designed. They're not given to us by the Most High. They're designed to control groups of people, and to control groups of people, you have to make it attractive to those groups of people. So to make it attractive to those groups of people, you remove understandings that the Most High brings judgment, which ultimately brings death and plagues upon people upon the earth. But these religions won't teach you that. They teach you a message that the Most High is all about love, because ultimately what they're trying to do is they're battling. The people out here, as the population of the earth, they're pretty much, these different religions are battling to get in as many numbers in the door as they can. And a lot of most religions, I don't know, if I haven't actually checked every single one out, but most religions you can convert to those particular religions. So it shows that they're happy to convert numbers of people and bring them into their doors. And so to make it seem attractive, they have to come with the message of love. What's accepting to human beings is something that's accepted by all of us is love. Some of us put on hard exteriors and maybe a little bit harder barrier to break down for people to get through to you. But ultimately, we all accept love when it comes our way, or most of the time, if you're in your right mind. So that's how they attract people in the door. But, when you come to the Hebrew Israelites, and particularly the men of GMS and anyone of that like mind, you're going to find the truth. And so you're going to find, a true message, and that's what we give you. We give you the true message, the true understanding of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, the Most High, and that, ultimately Yahweh is the author of wickedness that takes place. So, with that, Yahweh has America, which he sees as this cup, a golden cup. What he does, he fills it with wickedness. And he goes on to say that he made all the earth drunken. And these are the influences that are pushed out by America all over the globe. It says the nations have drunken of her wine. And that wine is the philosophies, the ways of life pushed out by America, Babylon the Great, and these Edomites. And, with their influence, whether they do it on a monetary level, on a spiritual level, or a social level, ultimately they're affecting all corners of the earth with their wine. It says, therefore, the nations are mad. And the nations, are starting to wake up to that wickedness. A lot of them have maybe been awake for a while and they're fed up of it and they're getting to that point. And that's why you're seeing, for example, the escalation into war between Russia and Ukraine, because that's a prime example. I mean, ultimately, the Russians are Edomites. So technically, they're the same nation as Babylon the Great. But, they're an example of a nation, obviously, classed as current day, that are mad, pissed off with America. So, in this NATO situation, so with that, they've gone to war. There are other nations. You have the Ishmaelites. Ishmaelites are starting to wake up to these Edomites, America, and starting to get fed up with it. And you have Saudi Arabia, starting to make more contact with the nations around them over America. You have Iran, they're Persians. There's another nation. And they're definitely mad at Babylon the Great, America, and these Edomites and the small hats. So, we're in that time where the nations are mad, and it's only going to increase rapidly from here until World War III. And ultimately, when we get to World War III, it's spiritual that there's the word here, therefore the nations are mad, because MAD stands for mutually assured destruction, which is use of nuclear ICBM upon nuclear ICBM. If you have war going on and nations get to the level where they use nuclear ICBMs, it's known as MAD, mutually assured destruction. So it says here, therefore the nations are mad, and when that madness, that anger fully hits its peak, and we hit World War III, you're going to see MAD, you're going to see mutually assured destruction. And don't forget, out of World War III, the new world order that will be set up will be the government of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And so all these other nations ultimately are going to be destroyed, be taken out of power, be taken out of their mini rulerships, as well as the Edomites who have the influence over the earth with their wine from that golden cup. Ultimately, all these nations are going to be taken out of power and taken down. It says here, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. So, Babylon America, destruction comes within 1 hour. When those nuclear ICBMs start to hit America, when the first one lands on the shores of America, that first nuclear ICBM, wherever it may come from, and from that moment onwards, you should be able to time it, and within 1 hour, America will be turned into a desert. First of all, it will be turned into a blazing fire. So you'll have the lake of fire. That's what the scriptures refer to. It'll be America, all parts of everything within the border of America will be on fire. And then after that, once the fire's out, after a very long time, it's going to be turned into a desert, a smoking desert. Since Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed, how for her take balm for her pain? If so, she may be healed. And this is kind of a statement of irony, because it says here, how for her, cry for America, take balm for her pain. So, find some ointment and try to heal up her wounds. You can, when you're in a boxing match, for example, you're trying to heal up the cuts, or at least stop them bleeding ASAP, temporarily. So what they'll do is they'll take Vaseline. You're a boxer, it gets to the end of the round, you sit down, and they'll paste up Vaseline over the wounds above your eye, for example. If you have cuts on your eyebrow, just above your eye, they'll Vaseline that up. And what they're trying to do is, ultimately put some sort of balm on there, some sort of ointment, some sort of something to pretty much heal it. Not fully cure the problem and heal it in that particular way, but obviously they're trying to, at least stem the loss of blood. And so that's what it's saying. Cry for America. Try to, stop that loss of blood. If so, she may be healed. Try to, just like if you were to come across somebody in the street, and they've got some sort of issue going on, you're going to try and stop and try and help them. You wouldn't want to see that person pass away. And so this is what it's saying. But we can read before that, America is suddenly fallen and destroyed. So that's not going to be happening. America will not be healed. It will be suddenly fallen and destroyed. Looking at Revelation 18, Babylon is fallen. Regarding this particular matter here, I'll start at the top, but what I want is verse 3. Revelation 18:1, it says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And this is the agendas that are pushed out from America. These alphabet people, transformers, even the fact that I've got this red recycling bin sitting outside my house. These agendas, they're all over the world. When I was young, it's sort of talking like 80s and 90s. I remember every time a film or like an album or some sort of clothing came out in America, we'd see pictures of it, on the TV or whatever, and then we wouldn't be able to get hold of it in the UK till about a year down the line. So if, a pair of shoes came out in 1990, a pair of Air Jordans or whatever in America, it took you about a year, 1991, maybe mid-1991, you'd see one or two pairs touching down in the UK. And then eventually, the market would get flooded, but it was late. Because by that time, you look back at the TV and the American people are wearing something else. They're wearing a new thing. So now, fast forward to today with the internet, it's instant. You don't have to wait. I see something drop in America, a brand new pair of trainers, shoes, a movie, an album. All I have to do is go online, and I can pay for it, and I can get it sent or downloaded or whatever it is. So, that thing is still running. And another thing that, maybe I was thinking of regarding this particular topic, we're talking about alphabet people, and we're talking about transformers. This has all got to do with, sexual immorality. And another sexual immorality is porn, the porn industry. Pretty much just filming people, at it and selling it and making money out of it. And then obviously, we know what people are buying it for. And don't get me wrong, if you have a man who's let's just say on heat and he's a bit aggressive, he might be tempted to go out and commit a crime and just take a woman. And society would shun that and say, no, you can't do that. And then so you could argue that porn could technically stop that man going onto the street and committing that crime. But don't forget, you live in a time where every man has been restricted to one woman, and the natural order of things, according to the Bible, according to the scriptures, according to ancient times, and according to the future, once this kingdom is taken down in the very near future, men are going to be able to have more than one wife. So you're living in a time where you're restricted to one woman. And if that woman is a mad woman and she leaves you and you might be caught out on your own for a little while, that's why these men, ultimately end up in these desperate situations. But I'm not condoning it. But you've got to remember, we live in a very mixed up world. So we have problem layered upon problem, layered upon problem. And it all boils down to these Edomites and the wickedness in the way in which they're running the earth. But one of those fornications, it says, for all nations have drunk the wine of her fornication, the spiritual adultery. So being, how can I put it, to not be a spiritual adulteress, you follow the laws of the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, and you live a righteous life. But up until, we come into this truth, all we knew was a wicked way of life, according to the life that is presented to us when we're born into this world. And that world is full of spiritual adultery, doing things that spiritually go against Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And America is the world leader in that. So, for example, just like the alphabet people, just like the Transformers, the robots in disguise, you have porn. And so America, I looked it up a long time ago, this is years ago, but when I looked it up, I think America were like the world leader in producer of porn, the porn industry. And then you had like a South American nation, probably Brazil, were like second. And third on the list, I remember France. I remember those top three. So you have but we know this is something that's reached again into all corners of the earth. And so this is America, with that spiritual adultery, getting people out there to commit things which go against spiritual righteousness of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And it goes into many things, it goes into worshipping deities, worshipping science, sexual immorality on many different levels, things like murder. America's like gun capital of the world, people shooting other people over nothing. So, it's nothing to go out and take your gun. That's what it seems like. I've never been to America. But from the outsider's point of view, when you look at America from the outside and you look in, it just seems like it's nothing to just blow people away. So, they go against what the Most High promotes in every possible angle, and especially with the sexual immorality. But it says here, for all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So they've tasted it, they've seen what it's about. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. So they've all got into bed on some level. Now Uganda don't want to do it on the level of the alphabet people and the transformer people. But I bet you, if you go to Uganda, you can find yourself a porn DVD. Not only that, they obviously get involved with the political side of it. Most of these nations out here are running their government the same way that America run it, in that same pattern. And it's that two horns that speak as a lamb, the two horns that come as a lamb but speak like a dragon. Ultimately, these two horns that come lead back to the one same beast, which is here to devour you. Either way you look at it, the kings have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. So even when you go to China, they got their own porn game going on out there, some weirdo shit, some real weirdo shit. And I knew one guy once, and he was into those Japanese women, and it's like you don't even want to hear stuff. It's like if he's starting a story, you'd have to tell him at the beginning that just stop, because I don't want to hear it. Some of the shit you hear. So they've all drunk the wine of America, Babylon the Great, and China are a great example of becoming also being merchants of the earth and wax rich through the abundance of her delicacies. China are merchants of the earth. They're selling to America, they're selling to Europe. A lot of stuff I could buy from here is coming from China, and they're making money, and they're making most of their money out of America, because America is the number one consuming nation of the earth, through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven, this is verse 4, saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues." And so, the alphabet people, the transformers, the robots in disguise, and the porn industry, these are her sins. There are many types of sins, like I mentioned, relating to the political views, the family structure, everything else, so on and so forth, the food, the diet, and everything. But the one I'm concentrating on today is the sexual immorality, and these are part of the. It says here that ye be not partakers of her sins. And it says, "I heard a voice from heaven saying, 'Come out of her, my people.'" So there will be a chariot, a so-called UFO. At the moment that the ICBMs arrive and hit the land of America in World War III, a chariot of Israel will arrive, and in the sky with Yahushai. So the members of the elect in Babylon the Great, in that land in America, will be delivered into that chariot at that moment, come out of her, my people. And also on a spiritual level, now we've come back to this truth, we've come back to remembrance of who we are, and so we spiritually come out of America by not following the ways of her spiritual fornication. And so we try to stop partaking in the types of things. There's obviously there's a limit. We still have to work, we still have to function, we still have to pay taxes, for example. But you definitely don't have to follow the sexual immorality now that you've come back to this truth and to the name and the understanding of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. You definitely are now at a point where you don't have to. You should come out of that thinking of the way they promote to you about sexual immorality. So come out of my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins. And the sins are, sexual immorality and everything else. Like I say, even especially the economic structure, the political structure, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Those plagues being the plagues that are to be sent by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, just like in ancient Egypt, which is actually named Mizraim. And there were 10 plagues that hit that particular kingdom. And there are plagues that are hitting America at the minute. It's being plagued at the minute with certain things that are happening. And the mighty men are being prepared for war around the world to go against America, Babylon the Great. And there's also, plagues within America, which are plaguing it. And ultimately, these banking elites are trying to set up that MOTB and go into that great reset, that switch over. And, this will bring many plagues, Jacob's trouble, so on and so forth, onto America, ultimately World War III and the destruction. And you don't want to receive, not of her plagues. You don't want to be part of America when those plagues come, especially the nuclear ICBMs and the laser fire from the chariots. So when you type into the search bar, nations and angry, so America have pushed this. There it is. Sorry, so America have pushed this fornication across the earth, and people like Uganda are willing to accept it on one level, but on another level, in terms of sexual immorality, they don't want to accept it. And now we're getting to a point, like I keep saying, the way that they're pushing this agenda for the transformer people, the robots in disguise, and the alphabet people, is starting to really upset people. America upset nations all the time, be it through their sanctions, economic sanctions that they place, or through the agendas that they push. And the people of Uganda are really angry at the fact that Kamala Harris has gone over there and is trying to get them to accept this particular thing. So when you type in angry nations or nations angry, what do you get? You get Revelation 11 and 18, and the nations were angry. And that's what you're going to witness here. Uganda being angry with, they've tasted that wine, and they liked certain bits. Like I say, at first it tasted good. They said, "Yeah, we can do this this democratic process. We can use that to manipulate the people and keep the power within a certain number of people in Uganda." So they said, "Yeah, we'll go with that." But when it came to the sexual immorality, that's something that's making them very, very angry, because you're going to see it the way this gentleman describes it in the video. They're very against the types of ideas. It's almost like, how dare you come over here and tell us to do this? He breaks it down. He breaks down all the stats. These sexually transmitted diseases. He shows you that the highest numbers of people with these things are in the alphabet community or the transformer community. And he's pretty much saying, why should we let this thing go on in our nation and create disease within our nation when we don't have it like that at the minute? But it says here, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come. So that wrath for Babylon the Great is coming. So the minute we're seeing the nations angry on many different levels, Putin, Russia are angry because of NATO and their shenanigans. Uganda are angry because of the alphabet people and Kamala Harris and all her shenanigans. China are just angry because they just want to take over. North Korea is just angry. Iran are just angry. A lot of people are just fed up of the sanctions and the way that America jostle and control everything. So we're in that time now. And when it says here, Revelation 11 and 18, and the nations were angry, this is today. This is happening right now. And you're going to see on that video the way he's explaining it. This is from an angry point of view. Like, how dare you come over here and tell us this? Thy wrath is come. So after this point, the wrath is coming. And that's why we tell you this is coming very soon. We have the MOTB to come out and to be made mandatory. And, summing up the way that's going and the way things are going on the geopolitical scene, 2024 will be a big year. We keep saying that for the last few years. Last year we said to you that this year will be a bigger year than last year. And the fact that the WEF came out last week and made it clear that microchips will be mandatory with the CBDC, that makes it, that one announcement makes it a huge year. You think of all the years Apostle Tahar has been pushing this MOTB. Well, 2023 is the year that the elites officially announced it to the world, even though a lot of these people in the world are asleep, they can't see it. So to wait 30 years for that announcement to be made, that's a huge thing. So just like we told you last year, 2023 is a big year, and you just saw one of the biggest announcements according to prophecy ever to be made, that you will be told to take a microchip if you have that CBDC. And so that could be here next year. World War III could be here next year. We are giving you the time range. By end of 2026, I believe we'll be out of here. Really, through the Spirit, I believe 2024 is the year. I've thought that since 2018, but yet to be seen. But we're close. So when the nations are angry, and this anger is only going to build from here, thy wrath is come. This is the nations are angry, put that MOTB out in the middle, and that's when that wrath is coming from Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and the time of the dead. So the wrath is come, thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead being the spiritually dead. People out here that don't understand what we're talking about, they're going to get judged by Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. See, what you've got to realize is, you've been given the secrets. We're giving you the secrets of the Most High. He's coming to judge the people of the earth, all of them, apart from the elect. And the elect are, we're privy to this information and to the fact of what's about to happen. And no one else in the world is. It's a bit like this. It's a bit like saying, I'm about to go and, take part in a firing squad. And we're going to take out a bunch of criminals. What I'll do is I'll let you sneak in the back door and you can stand behind us and watch it. And they don't know when it's coming, but you all know when it's coming. And so we line up the firing squad, we blindfold them, and you can see everything. You're privy to that secret. You're seeing it go down. You're going, well, look, here it goes. But they don't know. The people at the receiving end of the firing squad don't know until it happens. It says here, so the time of the dead, the spiritually dead, that they should be judged, which is what is going to happen, especially the people who follow with this, alphabet thing and this transformer robots in disguise. It says, and that thou shouldst give reward unto the servants, the prophets. Okay, so let's break this down. The nations are angry. We're seeing them angry now. We know the MOTB's around the corner. And then what? Then Jacob's trouble, the wrath is come. The time of the dead, the time of the spiritually dead should be judged. And now should give reward unto the servants, the prophets, because then it shall be known. Because we would have warned you about this. And then it'll be here. And then the people are going to say, so these are the people of the Most High. Because they told us this from how many years before? Not just a couple of days, couple of weeks. We told you this from years before. That they should be judged, and that shall give us reward unto the servants, the prophets, because then they shall know who the men of the Lord are, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, because we're the only ones, the prophets and the elect of the nation of Israel. We're the only ones that know the name of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and that's why I can, I have the understanding to correct that person on the video who spoke about the Hebrew Israelites and their God Yahweh. No, it's not Yahweh, it's Yahweh. And his son's name is Yahweh Shai. Bahashem means in the name. So you have Yahweh, Bahashem, in the name of Yahweh Shai. This is them that fear thy name. Small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And that is these Edomites. They've got these chemtrails, they've polluted the air, they've polluted the water. They've polluted your sexual immorality, your sexual morals. They've polluted them with immorality and everything else. Your bodies are polluted with processed food. The water you drink is polluted. The air is polluted. It's wet. So where else are you going to go? A lot of these plants nowadays are GMO. So where are you going? Where are you going to run away to in this world where you can't find that Esau's touched it? Even if you go to some beautiful island, secluded, where no one visits, and it's some beautiful place, the air's still polluted. It's still got these chemtrails kicking off around the earth. There's pollution. So, carbon, CO2 is on the increase. So you can go run away to some desert island, but you can't get away from Esau. Thou shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. Esau, the Edomites. America is going to be turned into a desert. You go back to Revelation 18. Lament for Babylon. Babylon, Babal, confusion, and Lon meaning land. And America is that land of confusion, that confusion land. Just like you have Disneyland, you go to Disneyland and you can go on all the Disney rides. And so when you go to Confusion Land, which is America, you can do anything you want. That's confusing. You want to, worship a tree, you can worship a tree. Worship any god you want and have sex with anything you want and dress yourself up as anything you want. and ultimately, when that great melting pot of Babylon, the great America, is Confusion Land, with all its confusing rides that you could go along with this alphabet thing. And then what you're going to find out halfway down the road, let's just say you turn into a transformer, you become a robot in disguise. You go through the process, you change yourself, and a lot of them, they get down the line and they realize, oh shit, this is a bag of shit. I got sold a pipe dream. And so what they want to do, they want to reverse back. How did you get that far down the road? Because you went on one of the rides of Confusion Land. You took that transformer ride, and you got, when the ride started going up and down, really high and really low, you feel your stomach go. You think, damn, I want to get off. It's too late, especially when you cut that shit off. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. So America's going to be turned into a desert come World War III, using these nuclear ICBMs, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, Sodom and Gomorrah is the name of two cities. There are 5, but these were the 2 main ones. That's why they're always you've got 5 different cities, but they're like the main ones. So that term is used to describe that whole particular area. And Yahweh Hashem Yahushai pretty much turned it into a wasteland, as you can see here in this picture. And this is, I believe this is Lot's wife. Let's look at this one here. So this is Lot's wife. Lot was told to flee, and on the way out they were told not to look back, and his wife looked back because she obviously was sad to be leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, certain things behind. But the wickedness got so great that the destruction had to come, and Lot's wife turned back and looked, and she got hit, and she turned into a pillar of salt. And I've seen a documentary where they drive around Sodom and Gomorrah pretty much, and all of the 5 cities, and it's just an area of salt. Everything's salt. The road is salt. Where the buildings were, they're now just salt. And as you can see, Lot's wife turned into salt. You could almost scratch at the surface and break it away. Looking at this particular image here, so the reason why I brought this up, because this is, America's going to be turned into a desert, and it's going to suffer the same fate as Sodom and Gomorrah. And you notice that Sodom and Gomorrah was dealt in that particular way, and Yahweh Hashem Yahushai didn't put the spirit on anyone to go back there and rebuild it. Same thing with America. There will be no spirit on any human being on the planet Earth in the kingdom of heaven that will stand up and say, I know, I've got a good idea. Let's rebuild America. It's not going to happen. It's going to be left as remembrance. You do all this sexual immorality, you're going to end up like these guys, a wasteland. They don't exist. They're not there. But looking at this Lot's wife, you can see a lot of detail in this particular image. Obviously, you can see her standing there. She's got a garment around her. You can sort of see her arm, and then you see her arm in the middle, and kind of like her bicep. To the left, you can sort of see her breastises. And if you look at just above the arm, it almost looks like her head. And then it's like something on her head. And then in her hand, it looks like a bag she's holding. And it kind of reminded me of, what they do. You'll see this, for example, in India, when they're transporting goods, they're likely to bang them on top of their head. And, don't forget, Lot was told, you've got to get out tonight. ASAP, you need to cut out because this place is going to go down, and don't look back. And Lot's wife looked back. But to us it's a strange thing to be traveling with a bag on your head, but in ancient times, and it's still now, in places like India, this is what happens. And you Edomites, when we put you to work in the kingdom of heaven, the first job, you're going to have to bury a lot of dead bodies. But We're going to have you working, and we're going to have you really working. And don't be surprised if you find yourself in a situation like this. And you look back at America, and don't be, surprised if you see a situation like this. So I hope that's edifying. Like I say, click the link in the description box for this particular video and check it out. And I hope that's edifying. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakak, Kwadash. Until next time, Shalom.